This is Dead Serious. I'm Dead Palette, and I want to be Ellen Ripley's toilet. Today we're going to be taking a look at two extremely tiny stories. Just a quick one today. We're going to be reading Such a Terrible Thing, ellipses, and Roulette. Let's get right into it. Such a Terrible Thing. There had been many rumors of a shooting that was supposed to take place today. All these rumors had me on the edge all day, and I was still fidgeting in my seat, even though I knew it would be fine and nothing would happen. It was lunchtime when the school shooting was supposed to happen, and that's where I found myself right now. All I can think is a school shooting would be such a terrible thing, ellipses. Okay, we're in a school, we're having a little bit of tense shifting that's a little bizarre, but overall I think that this is a very real thing that people deal with now. That's the whole point of these kinds of shootings, is to put people on edge, to make people afraid. But if there's supposed to be a school shooting, someone has said, made a threat, then you would think that the school would cancel school for the day. I remember specifically there was a threat of a school shooting when I was in school, or rather there were believed to be the possibility that someone was on site doing that, and we had a lockdown, and they didn't play around about that. It was very serious. Just the idea that everyone's going about, business as usual is weird. But let's see what happens. I see a kid open his backpack, and maybe it's him. Maybe it's the kids standing in the lunch line right now, or the shady kids hanging out at the back of the cafeteria. I'm just sitting there, zoning out and thinking about all the possible things that could happen. Then somebody yells, "He has a gun!" There's silence, and then panicked screams fill the air as bullets shred through the air. It's such a terrible thing. Okay, so we're seeing a pattern here. Both of these paragraphs end in the phrase, such a terrible thing. And the idea that you're using the term air twice in a sentence is a little weird, like screams filled the air as bullets shred through the air. That's a little clunky on the ear, on the reading eyes. The principal is shot and bleeding out. The school police officer has his kneecap blown out. The multiple other administrators are laying dying on the ground with many students. There are screams and gunshots fill the air along with the scent of blood. So many screams, so much blood, such a terrible thing. My hands slip and I blink a few times, realizing I was just daydreaming and nothing happened. A school shooting would be such a terrible thing, is what I think as I stand up and pull the gun out of my jacket. Such a terrible thing. Alright, so the reason that you knew that there was going to be a school shooting was you were doing it. It kind of seems like a David Cage thing, like in Heavy Rain. It's like you're in the thoughts, you hear the inner thoughts of someone who's a serial killer, and he's hunting down a serial killer, and he's like, wonder if this could be the serial killer, or this person could be the serial killer. It's like, dude, it's your inner thoughts. You know you're the serial killer. So that's weird. This was written by The Broken Panda on May 2nd of this year. Can't say I was a fan of this one. I'm going to read a comment here by Rory Harmony. The phrase "such a terrible thing" was, I think, a little overused, even as a key point. I think the ending was easily predictable. Yeah. Nice one, though. I disagree. I think that there are so many other directions that you could take a story about school shootings and about the horror of it and how scary it can be and, the trauma associated with those things. I think that this isn't playing with the subject material as well as it could, unfortunately. But let's see what Roulette has to offer. This is an even shorter one. During your day, there are probably a half dozen moments where you can't see, even if only for a split second. Not like you're blinking, of course. That's far too quick. Just that moment when you're taking off your shirt or wiping your face with a towel. That brief instant where you're plunged into darkness. Every time this occurs, you're playing roulette, a game. Unbeknownst to you, of course. Every time that happens, there is something waiting eagerly to pull you into that darkness. That only happens if you lose, of course. One day you might open your eyes to find that you were not where you were before. There are unsolved missing persons cases every week. Those people, they lost. So this is kind of like that, oh man, what was the name of that story? Just the about like missing persons cases. And I think that this one is not trying to be too ambitious. It's a very short story, and when you're dealing with something that's so short, it's really hard to be creative and original. Reading this comment by Boatfly Girl, that's a great name. It's alright, not as much of a masterpiece as everyone is screaming, but it gets the job done and gets right to the point, 6 out of 10. Yeah, I think that this is unsettling. This is a very common concept. Haven't read something like this in a while. But yes, I would say that this one is more succinct, and I like it more than Such a Terrible Thing. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Make sure to check out the Fear Fiction podcast, and on to our sponsor of the day, which is Crisco brand anti-kidnapping cream. Crisco brand anti-kidnapping cream. They can't kidnap you if they can't keep a hold of you.